time with family, staying active, doing what you love. We understand how important it is to live your best life, even as times are changing. At Holzer, we strive to help every patient achieve their best health during every stage of life. With more options for care through in-person and virtual visits, we are dedicated to providing you with excellent care every time. Live your best life with Holzer.
Welcome to the newest episode of Talk of the Town podcast, presented by Holzer Health System and the Gay County Chamber of Commerce. I'm Josh Wellington, your Executive Director at the Chamber, and we are on the road this week in Portsmouth, Ohio. We are actually set up at the Happy Pot Paint Your Own Pottery Shop on 2nd Street. So if you hear some beeping in the background, somebody's coming in to paint some pottery. But they've been kind enough to let us set up for a special episode. Joining me today is your July 3rd River Rack headliner, up-and-coming Nashville sensation, Jess Kellie Adams.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. This has been just kind of popped up, and you just happened to be in the air, and I said, well, let's get this together.
Timing is everything, right? It just worked out.
A little bit about how I met Jess. So every year, all of these festivals go to a central for some people, furthest away from us as possible, convention. Mm-hmm. And there they teach you about different things for your festival, and they have a trade show. So if you are someone who needs to rent a stage or lights or book an act, there's people there. So about 2 weeks before this event, I get a phone call at my office, and it's Jess, and she is doing a very good job to convince me to bring her to our festival. And at the time, we were booked.
Yep.
Like, we didn't think we had a space, and
I was like, all right, Josh,
yep.
You're making a mistake, but...
but I show up at in Sandusky at the Kalahari resort thing there, and one of the first people I see at the trade show is Jess, and we start talking, and still, I'm like, you know what, I wish I had a space. And then they have what's called the showcase at night. Mm-hmm. And that's when what do you get, 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah, around 20.
Yeah, and it's just, there's two stages side by side. So while one's being set up, another artist is performing, and you just kind of get to see what everybody's show entails. So Jess goes up and does her show, and I make my way to the lobby after it's over, and every festival in the state of Ohio is lined up at your table to try to book you. And I'm like, I'm missing out. So... we get back, and a few weeks later, we realize that, as in music booking goes, one of the plans that we had for Sunday night had fallen through. And so I called Jess and said, hey, we can use you now. Are you free? And she said, well, kind of. I have to be in Georgia the next day, but I can make it work. So we appreciate that. People are in for a treat. You're in Nashville now.
Yep.
Where did the journey? That's not where the journey started.
No, the journey started in Van Loo, Ohio, on a truck bed with a jazz band I found from the not University of Kentucky. What is it? Northern Kentucky University. What?
Somebody's coming to paint pottery.
I'm just messing. And yeah, I was 13 years old, and my grandpa, he's a huge part of why I sing country music, and I was singing along to Karen Carpenter, and he said, Jess, you might be able to do this.
Right.
So I got a band together. I just started playing out, and the more I played, the more I loved it. When I was around 15, 16 years old, I opened for John Michael Montgomery, and after my show, this woman came up to me, and she said, well, I had a song called Shine, and it talks about not letting the world determine who you are,
right,
and what you see in the mirror. And after my show, this woman came up to me and she said, I wished my nephew would have waited a week to hear your song. And I knew what she meant. And
right.
That was my first glimpse into realizing that on that stage, it's not about me. It's about the crowd. It's about who I'm impacting. Mm-hmm. And so I've just been on a mission to figure out what my purpose is on that stage. And it's to spread love and positivity and joy, and to let people know that tomorrow is a new day and we got each other.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to, I had a little bit of a drive coming down this morning, and I just went on, I put on Amazon Music and put your music in and just kind of took a deep dive. And you always, when you hear a new artist, you think of who can you pick out like an inspiration? Who do they sound like?
Ooh, yeah.
And it's funny you say, you sing along to like Karen Carpenter and that older country, because you get a little bit of a feel on some of the songs of, and I want to talk about one in particular here in just a few minutes on the table, but you get that country soul, that KT Oslin, Linda Ronstadt kind of soul, but then you hear the next song, whether it's Stupid or Smoking Cigarettes, and you hear Maddie from Maddie and Tay, or like that Ashley McBride attitude kind of thing. So you bring both of those things. But I mentioned the table. Not only are you singing this stuff, but you have a book.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about the book.
Yeah, so the table was written about just spending time with the family around the kitchen table. My grandpa always said that all family bonding happens around the table. So Grandma would make biscuits and gravy, and we would just talk for hours. And when we lost Grandpa in 2020, my grandpa and grandma's neighbor came up to me and said, "Jess, I love this song. I can just envision this children's book. I would love to illustrate it for you."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. I never thought I would have a children's book. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
And we sold 30 copies in 2 weeks. And, we're still selling them at our shows. And and really we also have questions in the book to teach kids context. Like the first line is, "My grandpa has working man's hands from a factory job he could not stand." And it's like his working man's hands and connecting it with his job in the factory.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really grateful for the book. It's something that came out of the blue, and that's what makes life so exciting.
Bring some copies to River Rec.
I will.
I'm sure there will be some people who are interested. And another song that really struck me that I think you probably put out a while ago while driving. I can't really tell the date on it, but it's as pertinent a song to life now, and that's "Be the Change."
Yeah.
That song rings more true today, I think, than probably when you wrote it.
Right.
Talk a little bit about what brought you to that. Like, where'd that song come from?
Yeah, I just feel right now more than ever we just need to come together. And like I mentioned a little bit ago, I feel like my whole purpose on that stage is for all of us to come together. So it just it was lying on my heart, and it was something I just felt I needed to write and put out there, and hoping that if somebody's feeling a little angry or a little disappointed in something, just choose the road less paved, less traveled.
Gotcha.
Take the road less traveled
right.
and choose kindness.
Yes.
Be the change.
Absolutely. Coming up as an artist now is so much different than what it was in the past. Years ago, if you wanted to make it in the music business, you went out and you were hoping to get your music in front of the one right person. The record labels had this this department called A&R, Artists and Repertoire, and their job was find artists and pitch them to the label, get you signed, and then the label would give you a bunch of money, and that was kind of to get you going. But what people I think don't realize, who aren't familiar with the business, from that advance on, every dollar of record sales mostly went back to that record label.
Yeah.
So the way the artist made the money was get out in front of the crowd, sell your merch.
Yep, merch.
And really be a road warrior and play 250 dates a year until you get that advance paid back at least.
Yep.
Now those departments rarely exist, and it's how many followers do you have? Are you making 3 pieces of content a day on all of your social platforms? You're still out there, doing the road thing and doing the merch, but it's the record labels have realized they're not needed as much. You don't need a distribution deal to get your music to the people. What do you feel like you're doing that is trying to set you apart and find that gap of opportunity where you can get your music in front of the people who are buying it instead of just that record label?
Right. I think just hitting the road. We have close to 35 shows booked this year, all by ourselves. We have a few agents that pitch us, but mostly it's me and my fiddle player calling all the time, Just trying real hard to book as many shows as possible. And our goal is 40 full band shows. And then just any opportunity I can to be on a podcast or, on radio, I'll do it. Whatever it takes. If it's in reason, of course, I will make the drive. I'll go out of my way to make it happen. And I think that's something that's really cool about being an independent artist is I am able to do what I want. I don't really have many boundaries. And also with artist branding, A&R labels, they used to have artist development.
You didn't know they made your logo. They made, everything was kind of force fed.
Yep. And now we got to do it ourselves.
Right.
And it's a lot of work, but it's so rewarding. And the path that I'm on, I just kind of take it day by day. And every day is so different. New opportunities come that I never would expect to come. And I'm just enjoying the ride. And I have the best band. I
wanted to talk about them. You take pride in your band.
I do. My bass player, he played his first show with us a couple months ago, and he noticed that I don't like to have my mic cord wrapped around the stand. So the next show, he unwrapped the cord and he pulled it straight. And just those little details. My fiddle player, he's over once or twice a week. We'll work for 12 hours straight. Just really working on the business. My drummer is the same exact way. Every time before we go on stage, he looks at me and he says, "Have the most fun in the room."
Awesome.
And just those little things. It's just like, these are the people I want to be on the road with, doing this with.
And it is those little things like the chord. I had an artist who we had last year, Rick Mikkel Buck. The first time I met him, I was just starting my DJ business. And he said, "I have to give you a piece of advice." And I thought, okay. Is this going to be the kind of speakers to buy or something? He said, "Don't use anything but a black extension cord." And I was like, okay. He said, "It looks unprofessional with orange cords running all over the place. Black cords blend in. Nobody knows you were there. Wrap them up, roll them up, be ready for the next show." Now, this podcast being on the road, this table's an absolute mess. He would be so disappointed in me. But I've never forgotten that.
Yeah.
And I even watched him when he came to River Rec last year. And he's got that. He's a red dirt guy. Yeah. Like he's North Carolina, but his influences are Turnpike Troubadours and Wade Bowen and Stoney LaRue and all those guys that I just love. And Mikkel was just like, don't forget these little things, because that's going to be the difference when somebody goes to book you. Is I saw him here and his stage was clean, or his setup was clean. Yeah. And so to have people in your band that not only are a tight-knit playing group, but to also be looking out for you and for each other that goes a long, long way.
Yep. That's funny. That was one of the advice that he gave you, because that's what Dean from Lone Star, when we opened for him, his main advice to me was pay attention to detail.
Yes.
That's where it makes the difference, is in the detail. So that's really cool that we got the same advice.
Talk about, you got a new song, Thinking Out Loud.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the song, where it came from, and then we will be making sure that hits radio as soon as this podcast is over.
Yeah, I wrote it with my friend Kelsey Kulik. I just came to her and I said, "Hey, what if we wrote a song about just taking that chance and just..." And the song is more around going up to a guy and saying how you feel. But it's so much more than just going up to a guy. It could be a career. It could be anything that your heart desires, but you're a little timid to do it.
Self-confidence.
Yes, self-confidence and just saying what you're feeling. So that's where Thinking Out Loud came from. And when we finally got in the studio and recorded it, when I got the master back, I couldn't stop playing it. I was like, "This is awesome. Oh my goodness." So I knew, and that was a few years ago, and we just released it. But, for those 3 years, I was like, this has to be out as a single soon when the time is right.
So I'm going to guess that one of your early influences, based on the dog's name, based on fancy, that Reba may or may not be one of your big influences. But who else growing up did you listen to, kind of, and it may not even be intentional, that you kind of catch yourself patterning, whether it's your songwriting style or your performance style, as you've kind of progressed through your career?
Yeah, Dolly, of course, her storytelling, not only just in music, but she is such a great entrepreneur. So just by watching her and studying her, I'm learning how to think outside the box and kind of put my hand in different areas of business as well. Loretta Lynn, I just love how she kind of speaks her mind but it's just so genuine and down home. And I feel that's where I kind of base my brand off of, is how down home and charming Loretta Lynn is.
Right.
My grandpa, though, he raised me on Keith Whitley, Conway Twitty, Reba. The first song to make me fall in love with country music was Austin by Blake Shelton.
Okay.
But my soul sister is Miranda Lambert. I love her so much.
I'm going to tell you, it's funny you say that. When I first saw you perform, and I went back and we were deciding to bring you in, one of my board members, he watched it and he said, and I'll explain why he said it, but he said, she's like Miranda Light. And I said, yeah, he said, just she doesn't have the bells and whistles behind her, but the performance,
yes,
that's what it is. And Miranda played our festival when the only song she had out was Me and Charlie Talking.
No. Okay. That's so funny. I almost named Fancy Charlie because then I could say, it's just me and Charlie walking.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that was the only song she had out. Her guitar player was Scotty Ward. I believe that was his last name. He just passed away here recently. He was with her band the whole time.
Yeah, I did see that.
He was actually, it was Scotty Ray because his brother is Colin Ray.
Really?
I didn't know that until he passed away. He spelled his last name different, so it never made any sense. But it was like he was her veteran guitar player.
Yeah.
And so I actually interviewed her for a magazine after the show. They set on, and you'll see our stage set up when you come in, but directly behind the stage is just a bank down over the hill there's a parking lot, but then it's the Ohio River. Like, it's just right there.
Beautiful.
We actually set our fireworks off in West Virginia over the river. And so her and her band, which her tour manager at the time is now married to one of her people, Angela Presley, who's in Pistol Annie's.
Yep.
Jordan was her tour manager back then, and just kind of that Nashville circle. But they sat on the riverbank till way early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But she was fantastic.
That's
and
awesome.
to see where her career has gone since then. We've had bands. Last year we had Confederate Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
Was our first kind of back into big bands, national acts. This year, of course, we have Trent Tomlinson and Drew Baldridge. But we've had, trying to think back over the years, Exile, I believe, has played our stage. Ken Mellons and maybe Wade Hayes have both played there. Jefferson Airplane at one time played our festival. I mean, we've had a wide array.
So it sounds like
Bo Duke a few years ago. John Schneider, he played. But when I took over this job, and it was my responsibility to book the bands, so we're going to bring people in that people want to hear.
Yeah.
And we're going to promote it as such, and we're going to put on a concert. So for those who haven't heard, our town is synonymous for this little white stage.
Okay.
It's owned by the city, and they have gospel nights and stuff on it, but it's tiny. It's about 8 feet head space. Like, it's tiny. That is no more. We have moved on to a festival stage, a 24 by 32. If you've been to a music festival, you've seen one of these. It's not something we've ever done. So we're bringing in entertainment, and you will be following the parade, which is one of the big events for the festival. What future-wise? I mean, obviously, keep putting out music.
Yep.
Where do you, like, two different questions, I guess, short term, where are things? And then what's some maybe longer term goals that you've set for yourself?
Yeah. So right now my band is preparing to be the opening act for a major artist or a major band, go on the road.
Okay.
So we have our stage set up to where we'll be able to get on and off the stage easily. We have reliable transportation and a show that it would just really enhance being the opening act. So right now, that is our goal, and we're working really hard towards that, putting it out there, saying, Lord, look at us. We believe in you. Let's do it. Long term, I want to play the Grand Ole Opry. I'd love to travel the world and make a living doing this full time, where I can be comfortable and impact as many people as possible, make new friends, and be with my family all the time.
And you talk about your show. That is what. So I mean, we talked and how do I say without if I don't want to offend anybody, but when you go to certain things like these conventions, there's people who are convention people. They live and breathe. That's their summer is doing their festival.
Yep.
That's not necessarily me. So, and I went by myself. I'd never been to one of these things. I didn't take anybody with me. That was my first ever convention.
Wow.
So,
talk about fate.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know a soul in this place. Like it's every festival in the state of Ohio. And I don't know anyone. So you and I got to talk and we got to hang out a little bit. And then I, of course, met up with Adam Calvert, who we talked about earlier before we went on the air. And just kind of meeting new people, that it's not just a festival crowd. It was, the music side of it. And then you went on stage and performed, and, that show sold it. I mean, if you would have went up there and, I love George Strait, but if you would have went up there and did a George Strait show and stood in front of the microphone and strummed a guitar and had a band behind you and played, I don't think it would have been made the impression that it made. And obviously I wasn't the only one, because the line of people that were trying to get you to play their festival, was growing as the show went on. You've also played our area before.
Yeah.
So you played Jackson County Fair last year.
Yep.
And if people have been around fairs don't book the same artist back to back.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. My fair at Gallia County, I think we did it one time years and years ago. We had an artist named Darren Norwood who sang Bad Dog No Biscuit. And he sang this song, I think it was called My Girl Friday. It was about a divorced family, and he got his daughter on Fridays. And he went out and put on a show, like climbing stuff and come in on a four-wheeler and like tore it down. And this was
his inspiration is Neil McCoy.
Yeah. It was at the height of Garth's prime in the beginning. So it was about the time that Garth's doing Central Park. And, that's the thing. Brooks and Dunn are running all over stages. So Darren did that, and they booked him for the next year at the merch table. And so that's the only time I'd ever seen it happen until now. And so you played Jackson County last year.
Yep.
And now you're coming back again this year.
We are. I love the Jackson County Fair. They are such great people.
They are. And that's the great thing about these small communities. And it sounds like you come from a small, you said your first show was on a trailer.
Yeah.
That's where the grassroots happens. What do you, I guess, when you look at what you're doing now and your career and your show, is there anything that you want people to take from that show when they see you and just take home with them at the end of the night?
We have our show, but throughout the whole show, we are telling a story. We're trying to take our crowd on an emotional roller coaster. We start the show off with talking about community with a Loretta Lynn song, and then we go into the love of country music, and then we go into kind of the nitty-gritty aspects of life that country music is always talking about, and then we go into Thunder Rolls, where you're just kind of on rock bottom, and then we go into our religious section, where it's, Lord, come on, like, I need to see the light.
Right.
Then we go into Brand New Man by Brooks and Dunn.
Nice.
And then, of course, we have Rocky Top, and so we just want the crowd to feel every feeling there is to life throughout our show, and just be walking away saying, what just happened? Right.
And that's the feeling I got after watching your show, and I took some pictures to kind of commemorate the event and stuff, and was hoping, that next year maybe we brought you in, not knowing that we were going to be able to do it this year. And but that's what you take from it, is just the emotion that you put in, and the, kind of just your actions on stage. Who out there in music right now are you listening to? Like, what's kind of caught your eye or caught your ear?
Lainey Wilson.
Lainey Wilson. Heart Like a Truck, her latest release. It has been on repeat for
the last week, ever since she released it. I think I'm saying her name right. Casey Tyndall. Love her. Ashlyn Kraft. Those are my 3 main ones.
So you're
currently
listening to fellow female artists.
Yeah.
And a couple of those are kind of under the radar.
Yeah.
And I like that too. You know, you find somebody who sounds like somebody. For example, if you are listening to Bathroom Floor by Maddie and Tay right now, then you need to listen to Stupid. It's that, look, I'm your friend and I can tell you this.
Yeah.
There's more people. There's more to life than what you just lost. So get up, get your stuff together, and let's go out and have a good time.
Yeah.
And there, you know, in that song, it's basically get off the bathroom floor and quit crying.
Yeah.
Yours is look, quit thinking that you're less than you are.
Yeah.
You were there for me and told me that. So now I'm ready
It's
your turn.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that if people. Country radio plays a select, and I love country. And this podcast will be on country radio. I've worked in country radio, but there's only so much airspace in country radio right now, and it's a struggle for female artists to break through.
Right.
It has been for years because of the mindset of the powers that be. But as you get smaller locally owned stations, who are some even like my old station was programmed by a female, so. She didn't care who was singing as long as the song was good. But there are people out there right now who are putting out music that are just under that, whether female artists like an Ashley Cook, who has a new single out with Brett Young, which is really good. Or, you know, Carly Pearce came out of nowhere. Like she was...
And she's going all bluegrass on us. Oh, I love it.
I mean, she goes from... the lady who is trying to make it and is married to a country singer to now female vocalist of the year.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've got other artists from other genres coming over. Elle King, who is actually from Jackson County.
Yep.
And she, you know, is doing that crossover thing. She has another new song out with Dirks. I think she is like the seeked out duet partner right now. Yeah, this is the second one with Dirk. She had she was on there with Miranda too, with what ended up being a huge song.
Yeah.
With Drunk and I Don't Want to Go Home. But you are right there, and I think that the more people that you open for, and you play country concerts, so there's people there that are going to do that, and that's how people find you. And then the people who are doing the tours then find you. I found Sunday Best because of country concert.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And then actually my wife and I's first date, we went to see them for the first time.
That's amazing.
So I had heard about them. My sister went to country concerts. She was like, of all the people I saw, Sunday Best. They're from Kentucky.
Yeah.
You got to listen to them. So there's a lot out there, and I encourage people, like I said, get on wherever you get music. Jess's music is out there everywhere you're going to look. Go find it and just put it on random. Yeah. And it takes you through the different stages of your life.
Yeah.
Like you have songs like Ride the Wave. And then you can just tell that you were in different places in life with each song. So I encourage people, July 3rd, 7 o'clock on the Robin Fowler State Farm main stage on 1st Avenue at the City Park. Do not miss this show. I promise you're going to leave entertained. I'm sure you'll probably, while we're getting everything loaded up, you'll probably say hi to some people too, right?
Oh, absolutely. After the show, anybody that will come over and give me a big old hug.
We may even have her sell and split the pot tickets or raffle
during
the day while she's there. Jess, I can't thank you enough for coming in, letting us do this and making this happen. And
honestly, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for having me. Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
We're excited.
Y'all gotta come out because we're high energy. We want to get you up dancing with us, singing along, and we might throw in a few yeehaws.
There you go. Well, I thank you again. Don't forget, every week you can hear the podcast on 93.1 WJEH FM. On the Wolf during the 8 a.m. hour on Sunday, and also you can check out our Facebook page on Friday afternoon. We'll have the link over to the YouTube portion of the podcast. Until next time, this is Josh, and we'll see you then.